Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have a lot of A's. I don't think I have a bingo with this rack. But I think it's probably too good to change. Well, opponent changes. And I'm thinking about finale. It may not be good. Finale for 24. And it is fantastic. And this looks a much more bingo-y rack. So, is there a 7 here? All quite high probability tiles. I have areolate through an A, but both of those could be blocked. So I was looking for a 7. But one hasn't come to mind. So what about the floaters? Do I have anything through the F? That's what I was concerned about. Opponent pretty much taking out all floaters. He's certainly taken out both A's. So do I have anything coming down from the L? And I think it's unlikely. Not that I can see. How about a play beginning with F? No, not seeing anything. Do I have a double-double? Not necessarily a bingo in column 5. Wow, close to Trahala. Doesn't quite hit the second double word square. And this is a tricky rack because I've got no scoring tiles. Well, maybe I can just play parallel. So how about a 3-letter play? That would require an E to go here. I would also need an E to go here. So O or T has to go here, but then I can't get the F to hit. However, that's not too bad. It's not a dreadful rack leave. And it does score over 20 points. I think the other option to consider is playing across the top. R could go here. A could go here. Well, I can put an E there, but what does the rest of the word look like? So let me put that back and consider a T. But then my rack leave is much worse. Even supposing I could find a word which fits. So let me go back to plan A of playing T for 20. Well, more bingo-y tiles, and again, slightly vowel heavy. But I should be able to sort it out. A play of Ilia leaving EOR would probably be better than changing. Double-double possibility still exists in column 5, but I'm not seeing such a play. T takes nothing in front, so opponent can't score down from the F, and nor can I. Great, just 19 points. I'm revisiting column 5. There's a new tile to consider. No, not seeing anything. Now, Yay takes nothing before or behind. Finale only takes an S. So I'm not going to get Ilia down. Well, not using 4 tiles on my rack, I could play Ilia down here. 8 points. I'm not a massive fan of that. It provides too much scoring opportunity for opponent. Just looking at the M in case I have a 5 vowel 8 through that. Not seeing one. One possibility is exchanging I-I-O. Real is quite a good 4-letter set. Now, Mort, I do have a better option. Mort takes an A in front, which I nearly overlooked. So I must have a column 1 play. But what? So let me put my A down. And I'm really looking to address the vowel consonant balance. So how about this? Aoli for 22. Bang! I normally reserve the bangs for bingos, but this was a tight board and a tricky rack. Now this looks a lot more promising. T has blocked lavender, but it's nice to have a rack which is so close to being a bingo. Now, a few floaters to consider. Well, do I have a 7? I think Ravend is good, but there's nowhere for that. So, does the R provide anything? No, it does not. How about the A? Alas, no. The P? No. And the S? No, how annoying. Well, I'm not seeing a bingo there. And Ravend doesn't play. And I don't have a play in column 1 because I've got no vowel to go in front of the P. So what about a play in column 3? Well, that's not going to get doubled because I need E's nearly all the way. Ah, well, no, I do have a play down here, which is quite nice. I have Vina for 40 points. Wow, and a decent rack leave. I am going with this. Wow, 3 R's. Certainly some challenging racks in this game. Not seeing a 7 here. And I still don't have a vowel for going in front of the P of draps. I would need an O. Still a ton of O's to come, so opponent might have a handy play down there. I have no scoring tiles. Nothing now apart from an S goes in front of par. Verl takes an S. Maybe opponent has got one, or he could just be sorting out junk. Anyway, I don't have a bingo here. Do I have an extension to Rev? I'm slightly short on vowels now. So I'm not seeing anything there. I don't have enough E's for revered. So if opponent does have an S, there's not an awful lot I can do about that. So how about opening the top of the board in anticipation of opponent maybe playing at the bottom? So I have direm onto the N. It's not terrible keeping 2 R's. There's only 1 to come. But this rack leave isn't great. Certainly vulnerable to drawing consonants, and I feel I've been working my way through quite vowel-heavy racks, so the likelihood of drawing consonants increases. So maybe I can do better than that. And what about a column 3 play? Wow, just not seeing a play through that A. Nothing good over the top. Really frustrating because a play of Rider would sort this rack out, and there's simply Nowhere to play that. 12 minutes on my clock and still 50 tiles to come. I was thinking about playing across from par. Wow, that's the best I can do. And it still leaves this horrible rack leave for a dismal score. Now, DEIR is quite a nice rack leave. Ride. I'm thinking about changing. Just nothing. No candidate plays have come to mind. And there's only 4 points between us right now. How many eyes to come? Quite a few. Do I keep it or play it? I think I keep it because I does help red quite a lot. Great, and I'm glad I did because I have drawn only consonants, including the final R, which is a little galling. There was just one R in the bag when I changed, and I drew it. Now, only 23 points for opponent. That suggests he's got a second S on his rack, or did have when he played that. So what can I do here? I don't think I can do anything about frustrating the S hook. And S appears far more often at the end of a bingo than at the beginning, and that lane is available in column 9. So what can I do here? I could play D-Ray. Which trashes the rack to some extent, but there are still 6 E's to come, and I'm putting an E out in the open. 26 points. Not too bad. What would be better? No, not seeing anything better than that. I'm going with D-Ray. And Aztec, what an amazing rack. A beautiful, beautiful sight. I am surely bingoing. I don't have a bingo beginning with an S, which is a shame. But I do have an S bingo, triunes and uniters, and both of those play in column 9. Reuniter in row D. And probably just a ton. Now, how about something fancy beginning with Rev? I think the U is the fly in the ointment there, because it doesn't allow me to play a UN at the beginning. No, so I'm not seeing anything. Now, is uniters and triunes the full extent of bingos? No, because there's nuts here. But I think that probably is the limit. Look at this, just 1 point separating us. So at the moment I've got column 9 bingos, but row D1s get doubled and so are better. So I think probably the best I've seen is reunited. Well, opponent takes that spot. So do I have anything other than column 9 bingos? And I don't think I do. So opponent's probably still got an S. He's played Clegg. Do I play at the top or the bottom of the board? The X is still to come, which is putting me off playing nuts here. Actually, it's not. Because only OX would play in that spot. And if opponent doesn't bingo next turn in row O, I'm highly likely to play at the bottom of column 8. I'm going with this. Not bad for 7 random tiles, and I do draw an S. I don't have a 5-letter play at the bottom, but I'm looking to play off the J, and I could play Jug, which isn't a big score, but leaves a pretty tasty rack leave of EMOST onto a T. I would have Gadgetost, no floating T's available, 2 to come. So can I do anything better than Jug? Although it sorts the rack out, it does take an A at the end and an S. Wow, great bingo for opponent. Plays off the final S and a blank. So where were the other S's? Right down at the bottom with traps and sip. And there is a T. However, I'm not a big fan of Gadgetost. Jug has been blocked. However, I now have Jig, which scores more and isn't dangerous. Do I have a play in column 8, which gets the J doubled? And I think I do. Emoji for 66. Bang! Not the greatest pickup, but I do have the final S, and I do have a 30-point lead. Now, I do have a number of floaters to consider, which I haven't had for most of the game. And I make the point that having the final S with no blanks means that this Verl spot is available just for me. That's not an argument for hanging on to the S regardless, but I shouldn't play it off too cheaply. Now, opponents played Max, which is good. I can play Woe or 2 in this spot for a big score. 7 minutes on my clock. I mentioned the floaters, but then I didn't consider them. However, I'm not seeing anything, and I am short on time. So Woe for 39 is pretty handy. This is a pretty good rack leave. I can't play the G off as well. No other super spots to consider, and I certainly don't want to block row O anymore. I'm going with this. Pretty good. That looks quite bingo-y. What do I have through an E? I would have Gaieties. And I do have that through the E of Zingiest. Will that remain available? Opponent may be tempted to play in the bottom of column 8. So, what else do I have? Let me consider this R of Nutsia, because that's in a different spot on the board. Wow, that would be such a high probability bingo to miss. But I'm not seeing anything through that R. So I'm thinking there isn't anything. How about the L? No. Wow, it would be a shame not to bingo with this rack. It looks so close. Now, have I miscalculated? I have. I think Gaieties needs 2 I's and not 3 E's. Yeah. So I don't have a bingo, and in any event that's not blocked. Let me just put this down and see what it looks like. No, that looks terrible. So 15 tiles in the bag. Is there really no bingo here? 6 minutes on my clock. Definitely no I's available. Well, what I could do here is play Beg. An okay score and a pretty good rack lead. I don't want to turn over too many tiles because my rack is bingo-y. There are bingo lanes on the board. And I'm not in any hurry to draw the cue, but if I do, I have the I, and this stops opponent from scoring in this spot. So, beg for 18. And I draw a couple of vowels, which is a shame. I kept a vowel-heavy rack leave, albeit a very good one. Now, wow, so close. Through a T, I would have out of sight. An opponent provides a T. Fantastic. So I do have a bingo, 5 minutes on my clock. Do I have an alternative bingo that is going to stick an E in the middle of column 15? And out of sight does not play through the T of zingiest. This looks a pretty good rack, apart from the slight vowel surfeit. So really I'd be looking to play through a consonant, and there's just the L. So I'm pretty grateful for out of sight, and I've seen something else. Out of sight is putting an E in the middle of column 15, but look at this, it's also placing an O in column 8. So those are two super hot spots. I will absolutely be guaranteed to have first dibs at one of them. So out of sight for 68. And that is a pretty good pickup, really balanced. And look at the horror show that's remaining. Absolutely awful. However, opponent may contrive to score well with it. He's got feck in column 15. But I think he is going to empty the bag. And then he is not going to go out in one. Now, this is a much more attractive rack. What can I do with it? 4 minutes on my clock, 13 on opponents. In particular, do I have anything with the S of out of sight? Well, so close. I have adhesion through the S, but that would need one extra square. Nice score for opponents. And I can see what he's got left, and that influences what I'm going to do now, because he's got a big play in column 8. He's got wok. So I think I need to block that, and I can do with hood. But what's the absolute best I can do here? Let me see what this scores. So that would be 36. I have a 30-point lead. That would give me a 66-point lead. Would I have a guaranteed out? I would have Tenia in column 14 and Dane in row O. So this does guarantee the out, but is it the best I can do? I think it is, because I can't see any longer plays getting the H doubled, and that maximizes the score. 3 minutes on my clock. Let me just pause, because the only thing that would definitely be better than this would be to go out. Do I have anything onto this N? I don't. Does adhesion have an anagram? No, it does not. I can't play from the L. I don't have anything to go underneath dent. Do I have anything better than hood, but beginning HO? Anything which only uses vowels, for example? No, I don't think so. Any massively good spots for the D? No, I'm going with this. I think it's going to be enough. Although I haven't exhaustively or even at all checked for alternative spots for opponent. But nothing was jumping to the mind in the way that the spot where I played was. Yes, calcs for 28, fairly okay score. And I now lead by 50. So 2 minutes on my clock. What's the best I can do with this rack? So I saw Tinia, 7 points. Dane, 7 points. I do have Aina on my rack and Ain. Nothing onto the C because there aren't 4 available squares. What about to play through this D? Nope. Diane is the anagram of Dane. Nothing through this I. So Tenia for 7. And the final score, 387 for my opponent, 440 for me, a winning margin of 53 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, that was a really nice game. Let's see if I perhaps had the better of it in terms of tiles. So this was opponent's rack. And he changed. Let's go back and have a look at that. I think that's reasonable to change. Maybe change 2 E's and keep share. The alternative would be to wreck the rack and play something like here. Now my rack, and I have finale. That looks fine. And opponent, it looks like he did exchange double E and pick up MY. And a little unluckily does not have a bingo despite all these floaters. Plays hay. Phew, I was waiting for a missed bingo to pop up, and it hasn't. So all of these plays are wrecking. What do? I do T for 20, which probably preserves the best rack leave here. So I like that. Now, opponent has a choice of bingos. Sumatra and Traumas. Doesn't spot either, plays Mort. And I have Aioli for 22, which looks fine. Now, opponent has not drawn well. 3 S's and only 1 vowel. Plays Draps. I have Raven, nowhere for it, but I do get Vina down for 40, which was a nice score. Opponent's rack, pretty non-bingo-y. Plays Verl. So, as you can see, he played Verl and did have an S. In fact, he had 2. My rack, which was pretty grim, I struggled here. C3. Dread, yep, quite nice, keeping IRR. Yeah, and I changed, keeping Ride. So, how does Ride compare to IRR? Is it 18 points better? And I would say it's not. I think IRR is going to be slightly negative, maybe minus 2, and Ride might be plus 10. So there could be a 12-point difference between the rack leaves, but there's an 18-point difference in score. And if that's correct, then Dread is about 6 points better, which is slightly over the difference, which would make me think that the move is definitively better. I don't mind taking a small hit if I get a good rack leave, because the better the rack leave, the more likely I am to spot bingos on with the ensuing rack. Now, opponent's rack, still pretty grim, plays Sip. And now I play... Wow, I thought for a moment I'd played Dene, but I didn't. I played Dere, and that does keep the best rack leave. Yeah, I mentioned that perhaps opponent had the worst of it in terms of racks, and he certainly has had a pretty awful run of racks, continuing into this one. Plays Clegg, and I have a dream rack and a ton of bingos, and I play Nutsia for 66. Now, finally, opponent's rack does mature into a bingo, and he's got a choice of 2, case 7. Through the R of Nutsia, he has Spritzig and Zingiest for the same score. My rack, and I play Emoji for 66, which looks fine. Horrible rack for opponent, and he could have done with a good one at this point since he trails by 30. Plays racks for 41, so does now take the lead. I have a nice rack, and I'm able to keep it nice by playing Woe. Opponent has not got a nice rack, plays boobs. And I have this rack, so did I miss something? No, I didn't. Fantastic. So K8, etage. Well, it's not a great score. It trashes the rack and it stops me putting the last S on the end of Verl with a bingo, so I much prefer my play. It's only 5 fewer points and the rack leave is so much better. Just looking back, Beg leaves AEIST, which must be worth about 20 points, I would say. And IS probably worth about 8 or 9. So there's definitely, I would say, at least a 10-point difference in the value of the rack leaves and only a 5-point difference in score. Now, opponent's rack plays Dent, and that's great for me because I have out of sight. Pretty grim rack for opponents, but he gets 45 for Quern and only trails by 30. Great no missed bingo here. K8. Chone. K8. Oh, it's not Chone, it's Ohone. Yeah, I think I can do pretty well without my glasses, but not on this occasion. So it is Ohone, so that would have been slightly better. It's 3 more points than Hood, and I suspect I could have scored more with ADI. Now, opponent's rack plays Calcs, and finally, 7 was all that was available. So, absolutely fantastic game. It just felt like a nice game where you're in the zone. Not every rack is brilliant, but I never felt completely bamboozled by a rack with no idea what to do and struggling for minutes to find a candidate play. I might have been close to that before spotting the A hook for Mort, but overall candidate plays did come to mind, and that's the sort of zone you want to be in where you're not guaranteed to get the best play, but some candidate plays come to mind. You can give it a reasonable amount of thought and then go with the best move you've come up with, and I don't think there were many plays in that game which were significantly inferior to the best one. Anyway, many thanks to my opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.